Hello, everyone. This is the Art of Learning Self-Love, and I'm Darla Williams. I'm your host today. I'm going to walk you through a course that I've created about the art of learning self-love. Today's topic is who are we? Who's the truth behind what we are and who we are, as well as how do we begin identifying what we want and what we need. A few of you all have gone through some of the different things that I have in regards to the art of learning self-love. I know that Jan is one who's actually on board with me right now in the art of learning self-love. She's actually taking the course. I know Jane has had experience of being able to go to quite a few different classes that I've done on a couple different platforms as well. And John, you're just beginning. And I want you to know that every single point of where you're at on your journey is really important because you're finally showing up for yourself. The number one thing we do every day in life is we show up for everyone else, but we forget about the most important part. If we don't take care of ourselves, I've seen those memes that say if you don't take care of your wellness, you're going to show up for your illness. Well, if we're not taking care of ourselves, how are we really empowered to be able to take care of someone else? If we don't know what we need or what we want out of life, then we may not be actually able to give to others what they need or want either. And it can cause a lot of animosity in relationships. It can cause a lot of discord and cause a lot of conflict because in relationships, what are we doing? It doesn't matter whether or not it's the bus driver when we're getting on the bus or whether or not it's the cashier at the convenience store or the grocery store or whether or not it's the intimate relationships of our heart and our soul with those who we're connecting with and being intimate with, or whether or not it's a relationship with our mother or our father or sister or brother. Relationships are all around us, and they're in a many formats. Sometimes it's business, sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's pleasure. We have so many different dynamics when it comes to relationships. But the key to that is knowing ourselves so that we can show up the way that we need to. I can't be authentic if I don't know what I want. I can't be true to myself if I don't know what I need. And that was what I found was the key for this is love is the master's key to our success. Love doesn't begin love begins within, not from without. That is really the true key is beginning to build ourselves. Identifying our personal needs is one of the most important thing because when we know what we want and what we need, we know when we're not being met. So that was why when for myself, I have had many experiences in life where I was not being met and I was being asked, what do you need? What do you want? In relationships, I was like, you just don't take care of my needs. I mean, I don't know how many people in relationships hear that. I have many people who've come to me and been like, oh, they can't hear me. I keep telling them what I want, but they're not willing to do what I'm asking. Well, then you got to check in with yourself. One of the biggest lessons I learned was telling somebody else that they never wanted to meet me, constantly reaffirming that over and over again. Why can't you? Why don't you? I tell you all the time. Well, I finally identified myself, but I identified myself in a relationship that was not equal to what I needed. And it wasn't that that person was less than. What it was that person was giving all that they could. But what was happening was I wasn't being met in what they were able to give. So that person wasn't mine. We just happened to meet up and we had a great relationship outside of specific needs. And we were great friends, still are, but we couldn't meet on the levels of I'm an encourager because there are 5 different love languages in life, 5. And if you guys are not aware of what those are, they are quality time, um, Let me go ahead and write them down real quick so I can quality time, physical touch, um, gift giving or receiving, acts of service, and encouraging words. These are the 5 different languages that we have. So for some people, they need to receive a gift or they need to give a gift, one or the other. They either have to give it all the time. They have this giving great personality. They want to give to the world all the time. And those people, they probably really thrive on receiving gifts. While myself personally, my top number one is encouraging words. I need encouragement constantly because I live so much time without it. So what I would do was I would deplete my own tank. I'd go and fill myself up with all of these great words. And then I would go and give them to the whole world because I was going to give that away because that was what I needed. I knew the world needed it because I needed it. So I was out there going around the world going, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Oh, love those shoes. Great hair. This, that, whatever. Everywhere I went, I was dropping little nuggets of encouragement to others so that they felt better about themselves. But what I was actually doing, because I didn't have somebody around me at the time that understood that was part of my language and what I was doing, I was depleting my own tank. I was filling it up and then I was going and giving it away. By the end of the day, I was like, why can't somebody just tell me? Well, what it was I was just connecting myself with the improper person. I was connecting with people that were not part of what I needed. And that was for years and years. I was going through patterns that I had to break down. And what I finally came to was a point where I was sitting at the end of a bed and I went, you know what? I can't be mad at you anymore. It's not that you don't want to give me the words. It's not that you don't want to meet me. You're giving me all that you are. But what all of you are is not what I need. So I was unequal in that relationship. So I had to come to that place where I realized the problem was within myself. It wasn't from an outside source. I needed encouragement and I needed love. Not sure if you guys are hearing me. Looked like we sort of, okay. So out of that, it was, here I was sitting on the end of the bed and I realized I could no longer be mad at someone who kept saying, I want to do those things, but I just don't know how. I was asking the wrong person. So I had to come to a place where I began developing what it was that I needed and what I wanted. And when I was looking for the partner after I developed that, I realized, oh, I need to look for the person who's already encouraging the world around them because now they automatically have that gift that I need. So it's going to be met. I can create the world that I want based off of learning what I need. If I keep hoping somebody is going to show up that's going to do all these great things, well, what are those great things? If I just say, oh, I want the great things of life, well, the universe doesn't understand what that means. They go, oh, there's lots of great things. Oh, so you wanted a new car. No, I wanted a great relationship. I have to be specific. I have to come down and identify what it is that I need. So when I was sitting at the end of that bed that day, I realized that the place of starting it all began within myself. Love begins within. If love begins within and not from an outside source, what is that love? Well, it is the very essence of God living and dwelling within each and every one of us. So we can't be separate from love. Love is already deposited within the very core of our being. That's why everything we do, we're like trying to do it out of love, but it may not be received that way. But the intention that we always start off with is with a good intention. We're always giving what we want to give somebody and really truly from our whole heart. But sometimes it's not received the way that we're giving it. And why is that? Is because that we are giving to those who are not in a level of being receptive yet. They may not be awakened yet. They may not understand what you're doing. They may be already frustrated with the rest of the world, and they may just be in a mood and they just couldn't receive it. You know, we can get in some moods, can't we? I know I have. I can claim that one. I know I've had moods, and I don't even know. I think I carried one around for 20 some odd years, you know, after some things that happened when I was young. Took me a long time to break out of it, is what I'm saying. But who are we? We are literally all collectively connected by one source. That one source is deposited into us. Doesn't matter what religious sector you believe within, doesn't matter where you're coming from. What matters is that we all have the same desire to just love one another. But we have to come into an understanding. The reason we don't feel loved sometimes is because we are connecting with those that are not meant for us. And those are our lessons. You know, I spent 7 years in my last relationship asking someone to actually give me encouragement. They couldn't even encourage themselves to get up out of bed sometimes because they suffered with depression. I couldn't expect that person to encourage me when they were still dealing with their own stuff, and I'd already moved through so many other things in mine. We were just not equally yoked. We were not coming together in a same playing field. He was still sitting on the sidelines while I was in the middle of the game. You know, so when that was happening, we were speaking two different languages. You know, he was receiving what he needed because I was an encourager. He needed encouragement just as much as I did, but he didn't have it in the vessel of who he was to give it. So we have to take from those experiences and use those so that we can teach ourselves as well as others. Because once we get it, the first thing we can all do is come back and be able to share it with another. Because then that is just broadening it and allowing it to actually affect the world at large. So I choose each day to stand in a place where I'm choosing to live my life for the highest good, the good of all, for mankind. So when I choose that every day, I choose to weigh everything on the ballast of life, you know, the balance, to go in and see, okay, whether or not this decision is going to be one that is going to benefit the whole world. That was what happened to me. I chose, after a lot of different things that happened, was I chose to step into a place where I realized everything I got involved in would be around that. So I have a question here. Does anyone have any questions so far on what I've asked, what I've talked about? Not what I've asked, but I'm asking you if you guys have any questions about what I'm talking about. Okay. Um, so I'm going to roll right into one of the things, you know, like when for myself personally, everyone finds this, you know, this space for themselves, that growth place through different resources, through different things. I spent a lot of time reading the Bible, the Holy Scriptures. And when I was reading that Bible over and over, because it had so much encouragement in it for me, I could always find words of encouragement to keep me going through that book. So at one point, that became one of my favorite books because I could find what I was looking for and I felt fed. But what I realized is in the beginning, in Genesis 1:26 and 27, it talks about who we are, what we're created. So I can honestly tell you, regardless of what religious background you come from, whatever belief system that you believe in, the truth comes back to one truth. We were all made in one likeness, and that one likeness is source. If you call it God, if you call it Christ, if you call it Buddha, if you call it whatever, if you call it yourself, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. There's one fundamental truth. We were all made to be in the image and the likeness of our Creator. We were given faculties to be in the exact image of our Creator. So that makes us creators. We have the ability to actually create. We have an imagination. The animals of the world, they are taken care of every single day. The birds will find food. The squirrels will find food. The rabbits will find food. But we go and make it. We go plant it. We go create it. We make things happen. We go in and slice it up and make it into whatever delicious dish that we want, and we get creative. The squirrels just go and look for the nut and go and bury it and save it up for the winter, and then they store it, they eat it, and they're done. The rabbits will hop into the garden that we've all wonderfully planted and go and get in there and get all the food. They're like, oh, get to reap those benefits. Thank you very much. But here we are as the creator. We're the creator of our own existence, of our own life. But we forget that we have that power. Because every day in life gets busy, we get pressed upon, we have deadlines, we have details, we have circumstances that arise, completely separate us from the thought. So how do we tune in, or how are we tuning out? It depends on what we're focusing our thoughts on. I can create anything that I really want as long as I put enough time and energy into the details of what I want. That's the key, knowing the details. So who are we? We're whole and complete from the foundations of creation. We are the very extension of Source to be the creator. How does Source have the all-knowing, the omnipresent? It's through each and every one of us, because that spirit is dwelling within us. We are that extension, and that's how Source still knows all, because we are that very thing that makes that happen. We are the vine, we are the branches, we are the mouthpiece, we are the feet, we are the deliverers of all of it. So when we come into that understanding, that truth, then we go, oh gosh, I have to watch my mouth. I have to be careful what I say, because what I speak is what I'm bringing to life. I have an auric field in front of me, and I can choose to build any world that I want, and I can build many of them, multiple worlds at any given time. Because I identified that I am truly connected to Source, and there is zero separation, and that what I'm bringing about is what I'm thinking about, and that is the life that I can live. But are we coming into that proper alignment with it and actually beginning to believe it? And when we believe it, then we get to start seeing it manifest, everything that we're thinking. What goes on in here is up to us, because I can't read John's mind and I can't read Jane and Jan's mind, but I can read my own and know what's going on inside it. And so I need to know that each day when I get up, I set an intention. Everything I want to do today is going to affect not only myself, but I want it to bring life to those around me. So when I set that intention every morning, it makes me change the way I would have done it. Now it's not about just Darla, even though the art of learning self-love was about Darla, about me falling in love with myself because I deserved the love that I wasn't receiving just as much as each and every one of you deserve the love that you need to receive. But we have to begin identifying what it is that you need, what it is that you want. And it takes time. It's not an overnight process. It took me 90 days to finally go, oh, I feel a little bit better. And it was only a little bit better. And then I had to go back through it again. I did it 4 times in a year. I just kept going. I just redid it. What I had developed, I just redid it. That is the other key, is repetition. How do we begin getting it into us and reprogramming and separating ourselves from the belief system that we've been made to believe over the course of our life to becoming into that place where we're actually living the life that we decide and how we can actually live it in its fullness is literally shifting ourselves from one to the other. But how do we begin that? Well, we first identify what it was we didn't like. So how much of us can all sit and say, I didn't like this or I didn't like that? Nobody's going to do that again to me because I'm tired of that. We all have those stories. But instead of getting stuck and hung up, we can literally change it. In a holy instant, we can change it by literally deciding, making a decision. I want to do something different. And I want to start by filling up my own cup. I can pour. Here's a great example. If I wanted to pour this cup right now, what would happen if I poured this cup right now? It's pretty full. If I poured this cup right now, there'd be pins and pencils all over the place. But taking a moment and if I haven't given myself my affirmations and I haven't given myself the direction of what I want, if I haven't made decisions that are going to benefit myself as well as others, if I haven't fed myself, given myself my hydration, then this cup is pretty darn empty and I can't give anybody anything. And this is how we're all living life, out of an empty cup, because we're giving every tool to everyone else and forgetting ourselves. I cannot feed the world with no money in my bank account. I cannot give someone else the details to the art of learning self-love when I was sitting in my hot mess back in the day. Because I was in my hot mess. I was like, I couldn't give somebody love. I couldn't even love me, let alone look at myself in a mirror. But now, after coming through what I had sat down and began building, I started realizing I gave more to the world every single day if I gave to myself first. So I got up every day and I decided that what needed to happen was I needed to be of gratitude. I needed to be in gratitude each and every morning. So I began writing, which I still do. One of my everyday top things that Darla does every day in the morning is I write 10 gratitudes. The reason I chose 10 is because it allowed me to not only look at my past and find things that I was grateful for, but my present of what was surrounding me at this moment, but it gave me a space to begin looking to my future and building it. So I literally choose and do things like all of my dreams come to reality or become reality. So what is it is I'm so happy and grateful now that all of my dreams become reality. So I'm setting myself up to achieve every one of those dreams that I begin to imagine. But I'm also looking at things that I'm doing in the present moment. I'm so happy and grateful now that love surrounds me. So that's my current. But there was a time that that wasn't present, but I had to bring that in. Or I am so happy and grateful now that I can develop new connections. So now I'm opening up the doors for opportunity. But I can also be so happy and grateful now that the squirrel is sitting on my little porch, eating its nut right outside my window so I can watch it at that present moment. So getting into who we are at the present, where we've come from, and where we want to go. Those parts are so important because where we've come from is the foundation. It's the rough part of our life that taught us all of our valuable lessons. So that's so important to recognize because that's probably what's really going to fuel you to begin where you want to go because you're going to not want that anymore. So how do you now shift in from your present? You've come out of it. Now, what do you want to create? And that is what the art of living self love is really about. It's about teaching us how to do that. So I have assignments that we do every day for 90 days. I have affirmations that we use to build ourselves up. So I created affirmations set up where each day you begin writing those affirmations and practicing them in front of the mirror, setting them up where you can see them regularly because you need to re-empower yourself sometimes every other minute. Because I know that when I started, I can honestly state I didn't believe half the stuff I was saying because there was so many other people's voices that were sitting inside my head telling me I was so much less than who I was. And that is the one thing we all struggle with. We have those dialogues that keep playing inside our mind that tell us what other people have said, what other people believe. And when those things come up, what I had to finally come to was if I'm truly whole and complete from the foundations of creation, if that's my truth, and someone else told me I was less than, I was unworthy, I was not, I was not good enough. Oh, but that's not the truth. I just wasn't meeting your need. And it may be due to a boundary. You may have been setting in a boundary and telling somebody, no, I'm not going to come do that because it's not my job. You need to go take care of it yourself. And all of a sudden, they're outraged. So what do we take in on ourselves? Because of my past, that used to be if somebody went into an outrage over something, even if it was me putting in a proper boundary, I would think I was doing something wrong because other people told me that that was wrong. I shouldn't be protecting myself, because now I'm not making myself available to entertain their needs that are not benefiting the both of us. So I had to come through a lot to learn that. And then I had to realize that there are so many people out there that were really genuine and loving, and that those were the people I really wanted to surround myself with. But I had to find my tribe. Some time. But here I am, right here with each and every one of you. Those looking to better their life. Those in that process of knowing that it is a daily duty for ourselves to choose to better ourselves. And Ayurveda is definitely the place that we can do that. It's setting us up where we can actually go to others who are like-minded and begin developing ourselves and growing who we really want to become. With everyone like-minded saying, I know you can, we'll find the way together. That's the importance when we get together. When we have these groups, it's so that there's more than just one perspective. And that's why I always ask if anybody has questions, if anybody wants to make comments. At this point, does anyone have any comments that they'd like to share or discuss? Go ahead, Jan. You got to unmute them.
There we go. It's not all of a sudden that I'm noticing it, which is the following. There are not many equal of people, male and female, I mean, and they're definitely not of a darker hue that are doing this kind of interactive work with themselves, for themselves, with other people. So, per that, it looks like anything that I want to reach for in the way of interacting with everybody, everywhere, looks, but is not actual of impossible. These kinds of spaces and places are not loaded down with tens of thousands of people. They're more the individuated one percenters. And even though that's a wonderful tribe that I do belong to, it's still pretty sparse. And I I I really don't know what else to add. Well, I can still be co-creative, co-conspiring with Source to ask for what it is that I want. And the the circumstances that I'm getting into my life are better now than what they would have been even so much as 5 years ago, let alone 40. And so I know I'm being heard like that and things are happening for me. But when it comes to the people, I just don't get why it's so sparse. Um, there was part of me before that's a justified of, okay, I was angry back then, I was collapsed back then, I didn't know how to even know that I could put stabs in the ground over that gummit. I really do want to get myself embedded with and empowered with, and that I really matter. And that's been happening. And in the last couple of months, up mostly, being in my early 60s now, out of my latter 50s, I've discovered a dimension, and it's really hard to talk about in public, of what kind of um, experience I'm having out of the night sky with help. Though, per acknowledging that, things have been getting a whole lot more happily intense with the work that I can do, service in the earth purpose. But still, where are the folks? And I mean worldwide,
Here,
not just here.
here's what's going on. And I'm going to really wrap that up because I really listened. And I want to make sure first that I heard you with what you were saying. So basically, you're saying that there's only a 1% out there that wants to really change, that wants to be in that place of development and growth, is what you're seeing. And that you're not seeing that there's a lot of people of your culture doing the same, so that causes some can cause some different reactions because of others and being hung up in the past. with certain behavioral types that are dealing with circumstances of things that they've been raised around and thought to believe because of things of yesteryears. Now, out of that, what I'm also hearing is that you are really starting to find yourself out of your endeavors with each and every person that you've come into contact with in the personal growth and development.
Mhm.
So where you're hung up is what I'm seeing is that you're still in the middle of creating. When we are creating, our divine feminine, the one that's in charge. And our divine feminine only is the thoughts, the thinker, the one sitting and going, this is what we should do. But your divine masculine doesn't have all the details yet because she's still thinking. And while she's in her thinking spot, the masculine's idly standing by, waiting for her to release so that he can become the doer, the action taker. So that once he takes in, we can balance ourselves and actually come to completion when our inner child can go, look what we created. It's already there. So, how do we begin to get into that balance? We have to think it through first. We got to know that we know with all the details of what we want so that our masculine can go and run it out and take care of it so our inner child can experience it. When we bring all three of those parts of us to balance, we then are able to be able to say, oh, that's what I'm doing. So you're still, Jan, you're just in your process. You're pulling things together and you're doing it very beautifully. And you really, truly are working in quantum energy and learning things along that way. And I'll tell you, that really brings for you to have a beautiful embodiment of what you're bringing together. And I am grateful for your input. Now, John, in regards to what we've been talking about today, has that caused your mind to think about anything or what you should be doing for you?
It has, but before I go down that road, I just want to comment back to John, if I may. I won't say I understand entirely where John is coming from, but I do believe that, yes, there is a small minority that's looking at, and it may be as low as 1 or 2%. But I do believe those numbers are growing by the day. I do think that community is getting bigger. And I do believe that we will become a lot less sparse as more and more people realize what's happening with people around them. So you will be the inspiration for other people to get into this and to get to embark on this journey. So, you know, like where I come from, which is Ireland, people are very, oh, I don't want to castigate the entire Irish population, but we have many talents as a nation, but we can also be incredibly skeptical. And I know myself, 4 or 5 years ago, if you told me that I'd be sitting on this mastermind tonight, I would have laughed so loud and for so long and said that will never, ever, ever happen, right? But now I'm here, and not only am I here, I'm telling people about it, and I know other people will. You know, I'm getting them curious, and I'm getting them intrigued as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and they're going to come along and have a look some night, and then the numbers will grow again. So I just wanted to say that, like, you know, even though you might feel you're a pioneer fighting a lonely battle, you're not. Like, the numbers will grow and they will multiply all around you.
They really do. And I can attest to that.
Okay.
Truly.
Okay, so that's just want to say that to John first of all. So Dara, back to you then. If that's sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like it's got a lot of thought process going in my head, and I suppose maybe I'm coming at this from the wrong angle. Okay, and I'd love your input into this. So I suppose I'm fortunate enough that, you know, I am married and I've got a loving wife and we get on very well. And, you know, I think we're a pretty good couple and we're a good partnership. And we have 3 kids and, you know, have a good relationship with all of them. And I'm surrounded by kind of, you know, family and friends and all the rest. So from that point of view, I'm not saying my life is perfect, but, you know, I'm not coming from a barren place. Okay.
Right.
But I suppose maybe for me, it's more professionally that I suppose that it's got my curiosity going because I don't feel I'm getting what I want to get out of my professional life. I don't feel that I'm getting the results I want out of my professional life. That's kind of the area that sparked my curiosity when we were talking today, and even, you know, what people would have said to me in my profession. Like I don't think I'm the world's greatest at what I do, but I think I'm pretty good at what I do. Um, but at the same time, people would have said things over the last 10, 20, 30 years that would still go around my brain, even though they have no place there. And they might form my opinion as to how good how good or how bad I am at what I do.
Right. And that's why getting that space within yourself built up, where no matter what comes at you, you're no longer shakable. You want your root system of you to be so solid that when the big gusts of wind of life come through, that you can stand sturdy. You know, if we have a sapling tree that has just recently been planted and a big gust of wind comes through, that thing might fall down because there's nothing of stock to hold it there yet. So when we've gone through our life working for the others, tending to all the details of all the different things that we're doing, you know, I've gone to work, I've been that person, I'm going to show up, don't matter whether or not I like it, I'm going to get it done because I'm going to get that paycheck. And that's what most of us have done. We've been trained, we've been programmed. You get up, you go to school, you learn all your details, you get up, you go to work, you do your details, you get up, you get up and you do, you get up and you do. Well, that was what I was finding that was causing me to continue to unravel. I was coming to that place where I was tired of doing things that weren't in alignment with me. I was tired of going in and being demanded of things of me that made me feel that wasn't okay. And I had one point where I finally was living my truth and still working for the others before I became an entrepreneur. Literally, I was sitting in an office and someone said, answer that phone and tell them I'm not here. I'll just let the phone ring. You're not here. You're not going to answer it, right? Leave the phone. Don't touch it. I'm not going to go lie for you. That was out of my alignment. And I was like, and I stood on it and I made that manager mad. For a moment, they were mad at me. And I was like, no, you cannot force me to do something that's out of my moral code. I can't do that. I'm not going to lie for you. And they were like, Darla, it's just a phone call. Just get, if they ask for me, just say she's not here. And I said, I can't. That's against me. I won't do it. But there's so many times in life that people do. And I used to. And I would watch how my world would cause liars to come into it. And I was like, ooh, I'm not going to be the start of being a liar. Not going to do that because I saw it happen. And it was like, nope, I've learned my lesson. I'm not doing that no more because if I don't do it, then they can't do it. If I have a specific code within myself, like I have the 10 things the rules that I live by. So I want you guys to, this is one of your assignments I'm going to put you guys on to. I want you to choose what are the 10 rules that you live by. And I'm going to share mine. The 10 rules that you live by. Mine are, I'm going to live a God-centered life with source and universe. I'm going to stay with that being the center of my life. I'm going to do unto others as I'd have them do unto me, and live by that golden rule. I want to be authentic. And then I want to speak my truth. So I'm going to be true to myself, and I'm going to be authentic. So anything I do, I'm going to do it from a heart space. And then when I speak, I'm going to speak my truth. What I believe in and what resonates in here and what holds in my heart, I'm going to speak that. I'm going to create my entire world full of imagination because I was given that gift. I'm going to serve with a sincere heart because I don't want half-hearted serving me. I don't want to be the leftovers from somebody else's. I want the fullness of life that I deserve because I'm whole and complete. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to learn something new every day and challenge myself to expand, to become more. When it seems difficult, I'm going to push even harder because I'm worth it. And I'm going to love myself first so that I know that I can truly receive love from others. Those are my 10 rules. And when I get out of alignment, I go, where is it? Oh, I fell short on that rule. And I have to come back to it because I gave myself my own rules. Who am I? I'm soul sovereign. I govern myself. The rest of the world doesn't choose it for me. But most of the time, we are giving the key to our own success to everyone else and saying, here, can you do that? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Wait a minute. Ooh. No, because they don't know you. So you got to sit down and create that world yourself and go through the finite details of who you are because you're worth it. So we're here at the end of the hour. Does anybody want to go through the fountain today? Is there anything that you know that you need to be shifted through, that you need to bring your body back into alignment, bringing the truth that you're whole and complete in the foundation, and any areas that you want to let go of, stuff that's not serving you, things, the thoughts that you're thinking, or the irritations of other things that have been really plaguing you, maybe some anxiety or anything else. And if not, it's okay.
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good. I've like thoroughly enjoyed this. I love that I govern myself. Ooh, I'm going to adopt that.
I govern me, nobody else does. I mean, I've given the power over to others many times. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it. We've all gone, and just recited ourselves and been like, yeah, I don't need to do that. But you know what? Really, in all actuality, we got to get up and remember we're the one in charge. If I want things to get done, I got to do them. I can sit there and hope the little fairy's gonna come and take care of that laundry for me, but I doubt that fairy's gonna show up. For those dishes in the sink that need to be tended to. There's not some little, we might have our partners who help us out. That does come in and help, and that's nice. But when we're all by ourselves, there's not something else that's going to come in and do it. And we got to remember we're still just as responsible for ourselves when we're in the relationships. So I think on that, there's probably a good space to wrap up. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for showing up for yourself, first and foremost. Thanks for showing up for yourself.
It's great. Wonderful. I just want to share one thing that, let's see, what are we doing on time? We've got 2 more
Good.
minutes. Yeah. I just want to share something because maybe it's helpful, maybe not, but about 4 years ago when I was 4 and 5 years ago when I was back to back struggling with Lyme disease and trying my best. It was pretty miserable, and because the vivacious Jane, couldn't go about her days, and but it really was probably a real turning point for me, and it gave me this, like you say, being aligned with source. I started to really think about, who I was in the scheme of life. And the one thing that I came away with that I possess thoroughly is that no matter what happens, I say yes to everything. I say yes totally. I don't have the fear that I used to have, and I think acceptance is the path to truly accept that you are so utterly connected. Like it's like there's no such thing as separation between you and me and all of us and source and what have you. Now, in our humanness, do we, Jake and yes, John, you can. Oh, anyways,
I'll flow into you as long as you create the plan.
that's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
You're going to get that, no problem. We're just going to build your Veda.
well, that's it. Yeah. It's just, but I think
No,
it's
no,
not gonna.
I want it from Jane. I need to be very clear. I want this from Jane. She said she could say, she says yes to everything. So,
I like that. Oh my God. What a good note to leave on. Well, I'm gonna remember that. And can we take a picture of that? I want to frame that
Hold on.
too.
How do we do pictures from from the computer? Does
Asking
anybody
the
know how to do that?
wrong part, unless you take your phone and take a picture.
I can do that because it's up on mine right now. I can read it.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. Yeah.
Oh, like I will send it to you in just a second. This is
Thank you.
this is
Thank you.
hilarious.
Yep. Someday, John, you're gonna be awarded.
All right, everyone smile. There we go.
Oh, thanks. Well, this has been tremendous, and love it. Just love it. So glad that you're on this earth, Darla Williams.
I wanted to check out for a long time, but I'm so glad I got over that.
Yeah, really. That would have been a shame, a big mighty shame. So, all right.
All right. Blessings, love, and light, you all.